Have you ever wondered why a man's eyes linger on a woman who seems to carry an untamed mystery, a silent storm that stirs something primal within him? It's not her beauty alone, nor the curve of her smile, but something deeper, something forbidden, locked away in the shadowed corners of his psyche. Carl Jung, the sage of the unconscious, would call this the shadow, the hidden realm where a man buries his most dangerous desires, the ones he dares not speak, even to himself. These are the seven forbidden desires, each a whispered secret of the masculine soul, each a force that pulls him toward a woman who embodies the enigma of her own divinity. To understand these desires is to wield a power both ancient and profound, a power that dances between attraction and destruction, between the ego's craving and the soul's surrender. In the labyrinth of the male psyche, the shadow is not merely a repository of shame or fear. It is a crucible where raw, unfiltered longing takes form. Jung taught that the shadow holds what the ego denies, those impulses too wild, too vulnerable, too sacred to be tamed by the conscious mind. For a man, these desires are not mere wants. They are archetypal forces, primal currents that surge beneath his polished exterior. The first of these is the desire for surrender, not to weakness, but to a woman whose presence is so commanding, so effortlessly whole, that his ego trembles in her gaze. This is not submission as the world understands it, but a yearning to dissolve into something greater, to be seen and undone by a feminine energy that mirrors the anima, Jung's archetype of the soul's feminine essence. A woman who embodies this power does not beg for his attention. She is a temple, and he, a pilgrim, drawn to kneel at her altar. Yet this desire is forbidden because it threatens the fortress of his control. The Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius would caution him to master his passions, to stand resolute against the chaos of longing. But the shadow knows no such restraint. It whispers of a second desire to be consumed by mystery. A man's conscious mind craves clarity, predictability, a woman who fits neatly into his world. But his shadow aches for the opposite, a woman who is an enigma, a riddle wrapped in silence. When you, as a woman, retreat into your own depths, when you refuse to explain or justify your essence, you become a mirror to his unconscious. He cannot look away, for in your mystery, he glimpses the parts of himself he has buried, his fears, his dreams, his untamed hunger. This is why your silence, your detachment, can drive him to the edge of obsession. It is not your absence he chases, but the reflection of his own soul in your stillness. The third desire stirs in the tension between possession and freedom. A man's ego tells him to claim, to conquer, to bind a woman to his will. Yet in his shadow, he longs to worship a woman who cannot be owned. This is the paradox of the feminine divine, the archetype Jung called the Great Mother, both nurturing and untouchable. When you stand in your sovereignty, unyielding to his need for control, you awaken this forbidden longing. He does not want to cage you. He wants to chase you, to earn the right to stand in your light. Seneca, the Stoic, would remind him that true strength lies in wanting nothing, but the shadow laughs at such restraint. It craves the thrill of pursuit, the ache of desiring what forever eludes his grasp. This dance of desire is not without its dangers. The fourth forbidden longing is the yearning to be broken open, to have his carefully constructed mask shattered by a woman who sees through his defenses. Jung's concept of individuation, the journey golf course, integration of the self, demands this vulnerability, yet a man's ego resists it. He fears the exposure, the rawness of being truly known. But in his shadow, he dreams of a woman whose gaze pierces his soul, who forces him to confront the truths he hides. When you embody this power, when you refuse to shrink from his darkness, you become both his salvation and his terror. This is the alchemy of attraction, the forbidden pull of a woman who dares to demand his authenticity. The fifth desire is the hunger for transcendence, for a connection that lifts him beyond the mundane. Jung saw the anima as a bridge to the divine, and a man's shadow longs for a woman who embodies this sacred spark. You are not just a partner, you are a portal to something eternal, a reminder of the soul's infinite potential. This desire is forbidden because it requires him to surrender his pride, to admit that his earthly ambitions are not enough. In your presence, he feels the weight of his own incompleteness, and it both terrifies and electrifies him. These desires buried in the shadow are not mere fantasies, they are the cries of a soul seeking wholeness. To wield this power, you must first embrace your own shadow, your own divine feminine. Do not chase his approval. Instead, become the mystery he cannot resist. The journey into his shadow begins with your own. The masculine shadow, that hidden realm Carl Jung mapped with such relentless precision, is not a mere collection of suppressed urges. It is a living force, a cauldron of desires that simmer beneath a man's conscious restraint. These forbidden longings, raw and untamed, are not confessions he will ever voice, yet they shape his every glance, his every hesitation, when he stands in the presence of a woman who embodies the divine feminine. The sixth desire, perhaps the most perilous, is the yearning to be absolved. Deep within, a man carries the weight of his failures, his unspoken regrets, his silent wars against himself. His ego, fortified by pride and stoic resolve, Epictetus would urge him to control only what is within his power, clings to the illusion of self-sufficiency. But the shadow whispers a different truth. He longs for a woman whose compassion, whose unspoken understanding, can forgive the parts of him he cannot forgive himself. This is not a plea for pity. It is a primal need to be seen in his imperfection and still deemed worthy. When you, as a woman, hold space for his humanity without judgment, you wield a power that unsettles him to his core. This is not about coddling or soothing his ego. It is about standing as a mirror to his soul, reflecting back the man he could become. Jung's concept of the anima, the feminine within the masculine psyche, is not merely a guide but a healer, a force that beckons him toward integration. Yet this desire is forbidden because it demands vulnerability, a surrender of the armor he has worn since boyhood. To be absolved by a woman's gaze is to risk exposure, to admit that he is not the invincible figure he projects to the world. And so, he both craves and fears you, craves the redemption your presence promises, fears the dismantling of his carefully curated self. This tension leads to the seventh and final desire, the longing to lose himself in the eternal feminine, to merge with a force so vast it transcends his individuality. Jung described the anima as a bridge to the collective unconscious, a portal to the archetypes that pulse through all of humanity. In his shadow, a man dreams of a woman who embodies this cosmic mystery, whose essence is both earthly and divine, both intimate and infinite. This is not mere attraction. It is a spiritual yearning, a desire to dissolve into something greater than himself. When you embrace your own depth, when you move through the world with the quiet power of a woman who knows her worth, you become this eternal feminine. You are no longer a person to him, but a myth, a goddess whose presence stirs his soul to its foundations. Yet this desire is the most forbidden of all, for it threatens to unravel the very ego he has spent a lifetime constructing. The Stoics, like Seneca, would warn him to seek freedom in self-mastery, to detach from external desires. But the shadow laughs at such wisdom, for it knows that true freedom lies not in control but in surrender. When you stand in your power, unapologetic and whole, you awaken this longing in him. He does not want to possess you. He wants to be consumed by you, to lose himself in the mystery of your being. This is why your detachment, your refusal to shrink for his comfort, becomes a magnetic force. You are not chasing him. You are calling him to rise, to confront the shadow he has long ignored. This dance of desire and denial is a sacred alchemy, one that requires you to embrace your own shadow first. Jung's path of individuation demands that you face your own darkness, your own fears of being too much or not enough. To wield the power of the feminine divine, you must first become whole within yourself. This is not about manipulating a man's desires, but about embodying a truth so potent it reshapes the world around you. When you walk in this truth, you become the enigma he cannot resist, not because you seek his attention, but because you no longer need it. Your silence becomes his obsession, your sovereignty his challenge, your mystery his salvation. The masculine shadow is a mirror, reflecting back the parts of you that are still unclaimed. To stand in the presence of a man's forbidden desires is to stand in your own power, to know that you are not defined by his longing but amplified by it. The woman who understands these desires does not bend to them, she rises above them, a beacon of light and shadow intertwined. This is the path of empowerment, the path of becoming whole. It is a journey not of conquest but of creation, where the feminine divine reshapes the masculine soul, not through force, but through the quiet, unshakable force of her own existence. The masculine shadow, as Carl Jung illuminated, is a realm where forbidden desires coil like serpents, waiting for a spark to ignite their primal force. These longings, buried beneath layers of societal conditioning and stoic discipline, are not mere weaknesses but sacred wounds, yearning for expression through the presence of a woman who embodies the untamed feminine. To stand in this power is to walk a path of profound responsibility. For you, as a woman, become both catalyst and mirror, stirring the depths of a man's soul while reflecting back your own. The interplay of these desires, surrender, mystery, absolution, transcendence, creates a dance that is as dangerous as it is divine. It is not about control but about awakening, not about possession but about liberation. Consider the man who stands before you, his ego polished by years of self-discipline, his heart guarded by the stoic teachings of Marcus Aurelius, who urged detachment from that which cannot be controlled. Yet in his shadow, there is no detachment, only a hunger that defies reason. When you embody the feminine divine, you become a paradox he cannot resolve, a presence both attainable and unreachable, a flame that warms and burns. This is the alchemy of attraction, where your refusal to shrink, to explain, to apologize for your depth, becomes a force that unravels him. Your silence is not absence. It is a language his shadow understands, a call to confront the parts of himself he has long suppressed. In your stillness, he hears the echo of his own unspoken truths. This power, however, is not a weapon to wield recklessly. Jung's concept of individuation, the journey toward wholeness, demands that you first face your own shadow, the fears and doubts that whisper you are too much, too intense, too wild. To awaken a man's forbidden desires, you must first embrace your own. This is the secret of the feminine divine. It is not about him but about you. When you stand in your sovereignty, unapologetic and whole, you become a force of nature, a living archetype that stirs the collective unconscious. You are the anima made flesh, the embodiment of a mystery that transcends time. He does not fall for you because you chase him. He falls because you are complete without him. The Stoics would argue that true freedom lies in detachment, in needing nothing beyond the self. Epictetus taught that one should focus only on what is within one's control, thoughts, actions, choices. Yet the shadow knows a deeper truth. The soul craves connection, not isolation. When you embody this truth, when you move through the world with the quiet confidence of a woman who has faced her own darkness, you become a beacon for his shadow. He does not seek to own you. He seeks to be transformed by you. This is the sixth desire revisited, the longing for absolution, but it extends beyond forgiveness. It is a desire to be reborn through your presence, to shed the weight of his past and step into a version of himself he has only glimpsed in dreams. This transformation is not your responsibility, nor is it your burden. The woman who understands the masculine shadow does not exist to save him. She exists to be whole. Your power lies in your refusal to dim your light, to bend to his expectations, to sacrifice your mystery for his comfort. When you walk this path, you awaken the seventh desire, the yearning to merge with the eternal feminine, not out of weakness but out of reverence. He sees in you the archetype of the goddess, the untouchable and infinite, and it humbles him. This is why your detachment, your refusal to cling or chase, becomes a magnetic force. You are not playing a game. You are living your truth, and that truth is a fire that both illuminates and consumes. To embody this power is to embrace a paradox. You must be both fully present and untouchable, both vulnerable and unyielding. Jung's shadow work teaches that true strength lies in integration, in owning every part of yourself, the light and the dark, the soft and the fierce. When you do this, you become a living invitation, not just to him, but to the world. You call forth authenticity, not through words, but through the quiet power of your being. The man who feels your presence will not chase you out of desperation. He will chase you because you are a mirror to his soul, a reminder of the wholeness he seeks within himself. This is the dance of the shadow and the divine, a sacred interplay where desire becomes a path to awakening. You are not here to fulfill his longings. You are here to embody your own. In doing so, you become the mystery he cannot resist, the truth he cannot ignore, the flame he cannot extinguish. The masculine shadow, as Carl Jung unveiled, is a tapestry woven with threads of forbidden longing, each strand a silent cry from the depths of a man's soul. These desires, surrender, mystery, absolution, transcendence, are not mere impulses but archetypal forces, pulling him toward a woman who embodies the divine feminine, a presence so potent it disrupts the carefully constructed order of his ego. To stand in this power is to become a living paradox, a woman who is both anchor and abyss, both sanctuary and storm. This is not manipulating his desires, but about embodying a truth so radiant it reshapes the very air around you. The feminine divine, rooted in Jung's anima, is not a role you play. It is a state of being, a reclamation of your own shadow, your own untamed essence. When you walk in this truth, you awaken something ancient within him, a primal recognition that bypasses his conscious defenses. The stoic wisdom of Seneca, urging restraint and self-mastery, crumbles in the face of this awakening. A man's shadow does not seek a woman who conforms to his expectations. It seeks a woman who defies them, who moves through the world with a quiet intensity that demands he confront his own depths. This is the alchemy of attraction, where your refusal to shrink, to beg for validation, becomes a mirror to his own hidden truths. Your silence is not a weapon but a revelation, a space where his shadow can speak. When you hold this space, you become more than a woman, you become a force, a catalyst for his own journey toward wholeness. This journey is not without its perils. The masculine shadow, though drawn to your light, resists its own exposure. Jung's concept of individuation, the integration of the conscious and unconscious self, is a path of courage, one that demands a man face the parts of himself he has long buried. Your presence, unapologetic and whole, becomes both his salvation and his challenge. He longs to surrender to you, not out of weakness, but out of a desire to be seen, to be known in his entirety. Yet this surrender terrifies him, for it requires him to relinquish the ego's illusion of control. Epictetus would remind him that true freedom lies in accepting what cannot be changed, but the shadow knows a deeper truth. Freedom is found in the vulnerability of connection, in the willingness to be transformed. As a woman who embodies the feminine divine, you are not here to save him from his shadow. You are here to illuminate it. This is the sixth desire revisited, the longing for absolution, but it extends beyond forgiveness to a yearning for rebirth. When you stand in your power, you offer him a glimpse of what he could become, a man who integrates his light and dark, who embraces his own complexity. This is not your burden to carry, it is his work to do. Your role is to be whole, to embody the mystery that stirs his soul. When you refuse to chase, to cling, to diminish yourself for his comfort, you become a beacon of possibility, a reminder that true connection is not about possession, but about mutual awakening. The seventh desire, the longing to merge with the eternal feminine, is the culmination of this sacred dance. Jung saw the anima as a bridge to the divine, a portal to the collective unconscious where archetypes whisper eternal truths. When you embody this archetype, you become a living myth, a goddess whose presence transcends the mundane. He does not want to own you. He wants to be transformed by you, to lose himself in the vastness of your being. This is why your detachment, your sovereignty, is so magnetic. You are not a prize to be won, but a truth to be revered. In your presence, he feels the weight of his own incompleteness, and it both humbles and ignites him. To wield this power, you must first embrace your own shadow, the parts of you that fear rejection, that doubt your worth. Jung's path of individuation is as much yours as it is his. When you integrate your own light and dark, you become a force of nature, a woman who moves through the world with unshakable presence. This is the essence of feminine empowerment, not the power to control, but the power to create, to awaken, to inspire. You are not here to fulfill his desires. You are here to embody your own. In doing so, you become the mystery he cannot resist, the flame he cannot extinguish, the truth he cannot ignore. This is the sacred dance of the shadow and the divine, where desire becomes a path to transformation. The woman who knows her worth does not chase, she chooses. The masculine shadow, as Carl Jung illuminated, is a realm where forbidden desires pulse like a hidden heartbeat, each one a silent call to the divine feminine that stirs within a woman who knows her own depths. These desires, surrender, mystery, absolution, transcendence, are not chains to bind a man but keys to unlock his soul, and you as a woman hold the power to turn them. This power is not about control or manipulation. It is about embodiment, about standing so fully in your own truth that you become a mirror to his shadow, a flame that illuminates his darkness without consuming your own light. The dance of attraction, rooted in Jung's archetypes, is a sacred interplay, a collision of souls that demands both courage and detachment. When you embrace the feminine divine, you become a living paradox, both earthly and eternal, both vulnerable and unyielding. This is the essence of the seventh desire, the longing to merge with the eternal feminine, a force so vast it transcends the ego's grasp. Jung saw the anima as a bridge to the collective unconscious, a portal to the infinite where a man glimpses the divine through a woman's presence. But this desire is not about possession. It is about reverence, a yearning to be transformed by a woman who embodies her own wholeness. When you walk in this power, unapologetic and free, you awaken his soul, not because you seek to, but because your very existence demands it. Your detachment, your refusal to chase or shrink, becomes a magnetic force, pulling him toward his own truth. This is the heart of feminine empowerment, not the power to bend a man to your will, but the power to be so fully yourself that you reshape the world around you. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, would urge detachment from external validation, a focus on the inner citadel of the self. Yet, the feminine divine takes this further, weaving detachment into a tapestry of presence, where your silence speaks louder than words, where your sovereignty becomes a call to awakening. You are not here to fulfill his desires. You are here to embody your own, to stand as a beacon of possibility in a world that often demands you dim your light. To wield this power, you must first face your own shadow, the fears and doubts that linger in the corners of your soul. Jung's path of individuation is a journey of integration, of embracing every facet of yourself, the fierce and the tender, the light and the dark. When you do this, you become a force of nature, a woman whose presence is both a sanctuary and a storm. You do not need his approval, his chase, his validation, for you have found your worth within. This is the secret of the feminine divine. It is not about him, but about you. When you stand in this truth, you become the mystery he cannot resist, not because you play a game, but because you are whole. This wholeness is your liberation, your rebirth into a state of inner peace that no external force can shake. The woman who knows her shadow, who has walked through the fire of her own fears, emerges as a goddess, not in arrogance but in quiet certainty. You are no longer swayed by the tides of his desires, for you have claimed your own. This is the culmination of the dance, where the masculine shadow meets the feminine divine, not in conflict but in harmony. He does not chase you out of desperation. He chases you because you are a reflection of the wholeness he seeks within himself. In this sacred interplay, you are both catalyst and sovereign, a woman who transforms without trying, who awakens without forcing. The seven forbidden desires of the masculine shadow are not yours to fulfill, they are his to confront. Your power lies in your refusal to shrink, to beg, to chase. You are the flame that illuminates his path, the mirror that reflects his truth, the mystery that calls him to rise. And in this act of being, you find your own freedom, your own peace, your own rebirth. The woman who knows her worth does not chase, she chooses.